Dwayne Williams never thought he'd spend the rest of his life behind bars, but for nearly 12 years, that's exactly where he found himself, falsely accused of a horrific crime he didn't commit. This is the story of a man who fought against a flawed system, a case full of lies, and a fatal fire that changed everything. His only hope? That someone, someday, would listen.
I didn't want to spend the rest of my life like that. Prison is like hell. It's like hell with no escape.
Dwayne Williams refused to be shackled by a system designed to keep him down. On August 20th, 2012, Williams received a call from his sister. His mother's live-in boyfriend, 67-year-old Bobby Cross, and his stepson, 42-year-old Daryl Sims, were dead, victims of a mysterious house fire.
I don't believe her, but I'm kind of thinking, like, why would he play like this?
Williams and Cross never got along. The night of the fire, Williams said they argued, and Cross pulled a shotgun, threatening to kill him if he didn't leave. So he did, to a friend's house downriver.
Their family was telling the police that I did it, and the police was looking for me.
Because neighbors related to the victims told police about the heated, alcohol-fueled argument. Witness statements also showed Janet Smith, Williams' mother, even voiced fears that her son could be responsible. But investigators did not suspect arson. Detroit Fire Lieutenant Patrick McNulty found no evidence of accelerants, foul play, or smoking materials, according to his report, where he listed the cause undetermined. The Wayne County Medical Examiner ruled the deaths accidental, caused by smoke inhalation. So why was Williams arrested for arson and murder 7 months later?
I was shocked, really. I didn't know, because I thought that was over with.
So how did they come to the conclusion? Did they have any evidence against you?
No.
Just this guy's word?
Yeah.
This guy, Gary Jennings, who had recently been pulled over while on probation, arrested for selling DVDs, smoking pot, and driving without a license. He came up with a story that would change everything. Jennings claimed Williams had confessed to him that he set the fire on Fielding Street.
This guy didn't know a single detail, and they basically went with him saying that I told him I did it, and that was it.
Records reveal Jennings told Sergeant Michael Russell that during a phone call, Williams confessed to starting the fire over rent money. Police and prosecutors seized on Jennings' account, building their case without verifying the phone records. There was no physical evidence, only the victim's family and friends pointing the finger at Williams, persuading the medical examiner to change the cause of death from accidental to homicide. Authorities soon had Williams on trial for murder and arson.
Yeah, I was angry because I couldn't believe that people were getting on the stand and saying what they were saying, and it was nothing I could do about it.
Because he claims his court-appointed attorney failed to defend him, ignoring his phone calls and never let him take the stand to defend himself. A jury convicted Williams, sentencing him to life in prison.
I told myself that I could live with me keeping myself in prison, but I couldn't live with somebody else keeping me in prison.
In prison, Williams got to work with the defiant will of an innocent man. He spent years in the law library, writing letters and filing requests, determined to prove he wasn't a cold-blooded killer.
I wrote so many letters, I think the blisters on my hands going away now.
Dwayne's persistence paid off. In 2018, his FOIA request led to a stunning revelation: an original fire report that had been altered.
What I was asking for was the police file. Well, what they sent me was a fire report.
Look at the original Detroit fire report and compare it to this one from the prosecution. The original report mentions a Zippo-style lighter found near the couch, right where the fire started.
I noticed that it says something about a lighter in it, and a lighter in the area of origin of the fire. Well, the fire investigator testified there was nothing there.
Lieutenant McNulty never mentioned any smoking materials in his final fire report or when he testified for the prosecution. In 2021, Dwayne's battle for justice intensified when he convinced the state's appellate defender office to represent him. And Wayne County's Conviction Integrity Unit started reviewing his case, prosecuted by Louisa Popoulis.
I remember reading his letter, and there's no way that this actually happened. Like, I've seen a lot of bad things, but that's a whole nother level of prosecutorial misconduct.
Shia Baum, who you saw there, founded Firefly Advocates, and it's the key organization in this that provided Williams with the legal assistance he needed. More from him when we come back. Plus, the disturbing pieces of evidence Dwayne Williams and his defense never knew about, what it finally took to free him, and whether anyone has been held accountable for layers of violations and injustice. Dwayne Williams endured 12 grueling years in prison, not due to the actions of one officer, but through the coordinated efforts of multiple law enforcement officials. Records reveal that evidence proving his innocence was deliberately altered and suppressed, while police and prosecutors allowed a case based on a false confession to send him to prison for life. This is Taryn Asher from Fox 2 News.
Hey, I don't wish to talk to you about that. If you want to run the story, you run your story. But the facts are speak for themselves.
Well, the facts are out there, and you haven't been held accountable for misconduct.
Well, if that's the direction you want to go, you go ahead and do what you.
No. Do you want to explain what's going on? How you got that confession? Michael Russell, the DPD sergeant on Dwayne Williams' case, shut down my attempt to hear about the false confession and why key pieces of evidence were withheld, including 58 photos from the fire scene with the Zippo-style lighter clearly visible. The images eventually discovered by the Conviction Integrity Unit, which also learned someone altered DFD Lieutenant McNulty's original fire report, whiting out key sentences about the lighter and other smoking items found at the scene that backed Williams' innocence. No one has admitted to altering the fire report, including Detroit Fire investigator Lieutenant Patrick McNulty, who I spoke to by phone. He told me he never testified about that lighter because the prosecution nor the defense asked him about it. But how could the defense attorney ask him about that lighter or any smoking materials if it was taken out of the fire report? And turns out, for his testimony, the jailhouse informant Gary Jennings was awarded $5,000 from the Michigan Arson Prevention Committee. And who did we learn is a member of that committee? The prosecutor on Williams' case, Louisa Popoulis. And because of Jennings' testimony, court records show he got a generous plea deal. Instead of prison, he only got probation. Even more troubling, Sergeant Russell, who took the informant's incriminating statement, had a history of falsifying evidence and coercing false confessions. In fact, it led to the wrongful conviction of 14-year-old Devontae Sanford, who spent almost a decade in prison for a quadruple murder he did not commit.
I couldn't believe that someone would go to that extent to throw an innocent man's life away.
Shia Baum, who founded the nonprofit Firefly Advocates, which provides legal and social services to inmates, has been helping to fight wrongful convictions. The motivation? Witnessing a flawed court system firsthand, but never imagined the layers of injustice until he says his organization took on Williams' case last spring.
I told this to the prosecutor, I said, this newly discovered evidence, should at least entitle him to a new trial. And without saying the words, knowing that I would use them, she basically said, my job is to keep him in there. And I wasn't referring to Dwayne, it was someone else. And I said, no, your job is not to keep him in there. Mm-hmm. Your job is to get justice for the victims. And you're not doing that.
Last June, Judge Bradley Cobb apparently agreed, saying the state failed to disclose evidence that supported Williams' innocence. He vacated Williams' sentence, while the Wayne County prosecutor decided whether to retry the case.
In my opinion, someone should go and look back at a lot of different cases if the same people are still handling cases like Dwayne's.
There's a good chance they are, and I learned they have even been promoted. Prosecutor Louisa Popoulis is now senior trial attorney in Wayne County Special Operations Unit, overseeing arson fraud. Deputy Sergeant Michael Russell, who submitted the tip from the financially incentivized felon, didn't lose his arrest powers until 2016, when Devontae Sanford was exonerated. But 1 year later, Russell was promoted to lieutenant, eventually retiring from DPD in 2020. Firefly advocate Doris Hutchins can't understand why.
When you find out that maybe a detective or maybe a prosecutor did something that wasn't right, people should be held accountable.
To date, no one has been held responsible for sending Williams to prison, but it likely played a role in why the Wayne County prosecutor quickly decided not to retry Williams' case. On October 17, 2024, Williams was exonerated and finally free.
So I can't I can't not help people. It don't matter what the situation is.
Williams fought every day to prove his innocence, but he also found the right people and multiple organizations that had the legal resources to fight for him.
The guys who I know in prison who are innocent, or anybody that I find out is innocent, I'm gonna do everything I can to help them.
And now he can. When he was released, the Firefly organization gave him a job. Williams now works to help prisoners like him who are trapped in the system.
When I read these, I want to hear, I'm innocent, I'm innocent.
It begs the question, how many more people are unjustly imprisoned? I mean, who is ultimately to blame for this?
I'm not really sure who do you blame. I just know that it's a flawed system.
It wasn't initially the facts, the law, what's right or what's wrong. Those things didn't matter. It was being able to have people to come and make people look at it, because the people who were supposed to look at it, they didn't want to look at it.
Now, I reached out and tried to speak to the Wayne County prosecutor, Assistant Prosecutor Louisa Popoulos, and the Conviction Integrity Unit, but spokesperson Maria Miller said, quote, due to potential for civil litigation in this matter, we decline to comment at this time.